Okay, Steve, so I am going to do some short videos for you to see a couple things about painting that are probably going to be not very much help. Um, but in the interest of maybe helping you out if it does help, here they are. I've selected a minion rat, as you can see, which I've primed mine gray. You've already primed your brown, so you'll actually be able to skip a step here. But I was going to start by showing you just a little bit about paint consistency, since I know that that was a concern. I've got a couple of different brown paints that are different consistencies, and then I think I have a pretty thick paint that's maybe not brown, but it'll give you an idea of a paint that's just way too thick. So anyway, to start with, let's talk about paint consistency a little bit. The first paint, which I'll show you, which is a perfect consistency, is actually going to be a Citadel paint, and I don't want you to take that as a sign that only Citadel paints are going to be good consistency, but this one is one of my favorite colors of paint for brown, and as you can see, it's almost, I don't know if you can see, it's almost all the way gone. But I've got a brush here. This is what I do for, it's a nasty brush. I've had it for ages. It's what I use for just large areas. I'm going to be covering a lot of paint, and I don't need any detail. I can also use it for dry brushing, and sometimes I do. But anyway, this paint that I've got here, I don't know, see if I can get my light maybe shining more down in it. Not so much. Okay, well anyway, this paint has, as you can see, it's got a consistency that's still watery. It's not goopy or anything. It's goopy up in the top, but right here, this is the consistency of paint that I'm looking for. Like I told you on the phone, I don't thin paint at all. But this consistency specifically is perfect for painting. As you can see, this is a black area here on the side, and when you paint on, I mean, it's going to cover, and I'm not going to do this too much because I really don't have much of this left. I'm hoping to use it for all my mice. But that's a perfect consistency of brown paint. I've got another color of brown paint, which is the same shade, actually. I've got a little bit here that's dried out because I've been working with it for a little while. I'm going to pour a little bit more in. It is the Burnt Umber of the Apple Barrel brand. And again, don't take this as a sign that Citadel paints is the only way to go. Just it's what I happen to have. And you can see instantly this is really, really watery paint. It spreads instantly out, and it's not necessarily going to cover very well. It's going to be looser, it's more watery. And I don't really know any way to thicken paint other than let it sit out like this did. As you can see, this has been sitting a while, so it's a little thicker, but you can still tell it's not like the Citadel paint I just showed you. It's still not got a lot of coverage ability, and when before it's sat out and kind of thickened on its own, it's even worse, as you can tell. So this would be good for maybe highlights when I'm trying to build up from a mid-base color to a lighter color. I don't have any problem using a thinner paint like this. In fact, I've got one called Nutmeg Brown right here that is about the same consistency, and I was noticing last time I used it that it's not. Oh look, I've got some dried paint coming in there with it. Actually, looks like it's gotten a little thicker since the last time I used it. That is not a bad consistency, really. It's a little thick in the gloopiness, but you can work with it with a toothpick for a while or just with a nasty brush like I've got. But you can still see, for whatever reason, it's not. I would only use this for highlighting. I'm not fond of the coverage on this brown paint either. As a base color, it would just be a nightmare. You'd have to do a ton of coats. So that's just a little bit of word about consistency. I want to show you a really bad thick paint, and I'm not sure. The best one to show you would be, was it this brown oxide maybe? Let's see if this is the right one. No, that one's actually a good consistency. You know what? I've got some flesh right here, and this is a Citadel paint, so you'll see now that even Citadel paints can get bad, and you can just look at it. It's getting pretty bad in there. There's paint of the consistency that I would use, In fact, what's running off right now, if you're doing a small area and you're careful not to do it too thickly, is going to be fine. I mean, you could dip in there and do details with this, and you would definitely only have to do one coat. But if you were doing a base coat with this thick of a paint, you'd either want to thin it. I'd put 3 or 4 drops of water in this pot and then shake it up, or you'll risk losing detail on your figure, because when it dries, it's not going to get much thinner than it already is. And so, you know, if you've covered up small areas, it's just gonna fill them in. So that's a too thick paint, and it's Citadel, so not all Citadel is perfect. But we will be using that flesh color here in a bit if I get that far. So anyway, I was going to show you a little bit about paint strokes, because you asked about paint strokes themselves. I'll start with the Scorch Brown that I like, which is the Citadel paint. And like I said, I've got the mouse here. I'm going to use, these are going to be my brown rats, and they will be, actually, you know what? I'm going to stop this video and I'll pick it up at the next one, because I don't want these to be too long. This is already 6 minutes. I'm going to try to keep them 5 to 6 minutes each. So see you in a sec.